Hi my babies. So today's video is going to be on signs that your relationship is unhealthy. Now, before I even get started on that, I just want to say that if you're looking up this, or if this happens to cross your feed and it finds your interest, that I want to make it clear that you're putting the effort out there, and we want to applaud you for that. We want to applaud you for recognizing maybe some signs that you're unhappy, recognizing maybe a couple of things that you'd like to change within your relationship, and obviously seeing if those things are achievable. Some signs that your relationship is unhealthy is you don't feel like your best self with that person, and sometimes that can be introspection of you. So sometimes that has a lot to do with self-confidence, and other times it can feel as though you don't necessarily feel heard with this person that you're dating, and it's really not easy to deal with. At the end of the day, everybody loves to make it seem as though you should just be okay with what you're putting up with, but I want to make it clear, the more that your growth increases, the more that your value increases, the more that you become aware of these things, rather, the more that you're not going to want to put up with certain things. And some relationship signs, I just want to make it very clear, we don't support any domestic violence, we don't support any verbal abuse, anything like that, or swords. Nana, come here. Do you want to say hi to the channel? Alright, come on. Hold on, guys. Alright, guys, so the emotional support doggy wants to say something. He'd like to make it very clear that he's tired of dealing with this insubordination. And that he just wants some rubs. Nonetheless, back to what I was saying. Obviously the video could have been a lot more structured, but just off of the top of my head, when I think of unhealthy relationships, I think of abuse. I think of someone that I normally seen as a happy person become unhappy, turning into someone that they're not, feeling stifled. You understand what I'm saying? Feeling as though I have to deal with this, or this person loves me, so I should deal with this. I think that's really a big one too. So sometimes we feel an obligation to stay with people because of our love for them, or because of what we believe their love to be with us is. And sometimes it is best that you choose yourself, even if that may be painful for the other person. I have been on both sides of the end, obviously breaking up with people, getting broken up with, and sometimes the reason is not always linear, and sometimes you guys aren't always on the same page. But nonetheless, if you're here, you should be doing what's best for yourself, because that shows that you're trying to heal. It shows that you're trying to grow, and that's never easy. Being uncomfortable is never easy, but it's always worth it. And if you decide to step outside of a toxic relationship, if you decide to say, every time I try to talk to this person about what bothers me, they seem to brush it off. Every time that I try to make suggestions on things that make me happy in a relationship, maybe I don't really feel heard. Maybe if I keep convincing this person, they'll hear me. And a lot of times, it's really the opposite. Maybe don't keep convincing that person. I think it's also about being mindful of that person's character and being clear on what it is that you want in a relationship, and also understanding who you are. It's really hard these days to get into a nice relationship where you guys are able to both give to one another if you don't know who you are, and if you also can't really pour from an empty cup. A lot of us come into relationships wounded from the last one, and then we think that for some reason this next one is gonna go well, but in all actuality, we never really took the right time to heal from the last one. And we should definitely be mindful of that, because obviously time is not linear to anybody. Everyone's healing process looks different, but I'm noticing a lot in a lot of people that they'll just jump into the right next thing. But if you could talk about your last in previous relationship and there's still a lot of pain there, you should definitely take time to transmute that before you decide to go on to the next person. Don't get me wrong though, some relationships can be very healing from things you've been through the past. But sometimes you have to understand when God is calling you to take your time by yourself. And in you taking your time by yourself, you're learning yourself. You're learning what you want out of life. You're learning what you'll put up with, what you won't put up with. You're learning what exactly is toxic. I know some women that'll stay and deal with cheating, but they won't deal with abuse. I know some women that'll deal with like physical abuse, but they're not fucking with cheating. You know, every woman says that they all have their thing that they're okay with, but we as women shouldn't be accepting anything that's less than that. You know what I'm saying? None of it's healthy. And a lot of times some of us are afraid to be alone. And that's okay too. But it's important that you admit that. It's important that you recognize that fear so that this way that fear doesn't transmute or manifest into something that, you know, you can't really control. You are doing the best that you can at the end of the day. And a lot of us didn't grow up with the support systems that was needed to teach us how to be independent, to teach us how to have healthy boundaries, how to obviously not put up with things, but to not be overly masculine. Because sometimes we think that by being freaking crazy, and I know this firsthand, please don't, I'm not looking at the next person and pointing fingers. Right? He's pointing fingers. You pointing fingers? I don't think he's pointing fingers. But I'm not looking at the next person and pointing fingers and sitting up here saying, you know, I never did that. No, I've definitely crashed out. Gotta be real. Snooze, you lose. Nah, I mean, that's not healthy. But it's important that we learn from those things. I'm not saying that you are expected to be perfect, but obviously there's a better version of the woman that you are today, and you deserve to be able to meet her, to be able to strive for her, and to make your younger self proud. You know, maybe not even your younger self, maybe the self you are today. And a lot of that does stem from the relationships that you are in, whether that may be family, friends, anything like that. Obviously, we're talking about romantical relationships and things, and we should definitely be able to discuss that. You understand? Too often I see women settle for things that they just really shouldn't. And it's like, if you really feel as though that person loves you that much, then they would do the necessary steps that it takes to keep you, to make you happy, to accept you for who you are and all you are. And acceptance in who you are does not give you a slip to say, well, I'm just gonna be crazy. If they stay, then that means that they love me. No, we shouldn't be doing that to men, and men should not be doing that to us. That's actually very toxic, and that's a sign of a toxic relationship in and of itself, right then and there. Right, baby? All right, I think he understands. So yeah, I'm gonna be going over another video that speaks on maybe some ways that you guys could get to the root cause of how to fix these toxic relationships that you might find yourself in, or to fix things the best way that you can. You know, we can't control other people. We can really only control ourselves. And we should do what makes us happy in this lifetime. We're not getting any younger. We want to say bye. So say bye, baby. Bye. Say bye. Look at the camera. All right. Bye, guys.